Live from downtown Chicago on the Magnificent Mile, you are watching the Kyle Malnati Real Estate Podcast. You're here with my guest here, Bo Menkiti. And Bo, thank you so much for joining me on the show today.
Well, it's great to be with you here, Kyle.
Thank you. And Bo and I are here in Chicago at the National Association of Realtors building in Chicago. This is a special edition of the show. The reason why we're here is we are both in different years part of a award that NAR and Realtor Magazine does called 30 Under 30. So we had a special event today, and I said, Bo, you're a real estate investor. You've done a ton of development in the Washington, D.C. area, 600,000 square feet of commercial space, and you've invested over $160 million in some of D.C.'s kind of low to mid-income neighborhoods and really working on improving those neighborhood experiences. So this will be an exciting show. Bo's also a realtor just like myself, so he'll have some real estate advice for any of you that are looking at getting into real estate as well. Bo, what is your real estate story? How did you get started in investment real estate?
You know, I got started really, quite frankly, when I bought my first house. I bought my first house in Washington, D.C. that was, you know, in a part of Washington, D.C. that was still developing. It was right near a metro or a transit station. And while I was living there, I was working. I worked in sort of corporate strategy, and I was running, at that time, a national nonprofit that worked in education issues. But had gotten a real estate license because I was interested in learning more about real estate investing. At that time, I didn't really know that getting a real estate license didn't have a direct correlation to real estate investing unless you actually went out and used it and did something with it.
Right.
But that was sort of the beginning. Had an opportunity, had made a policy at the company I was working at that folks had to take some time off every 2 years.
Oh, that's cool.
It was pointed out that I hadn't actually taken my required days off as the leader, so off I went to take this sort of unplanned, 4-week vacation. Realized, hey, I've got a real estate license. I should put this thing to use.
So you worked on your vacation, naturally.
Yeah, it's typically what happens to realtors. Right? I had the DNA early on, right? And so, was able to sell 5 or 6 homes in this 4-week period, and said, wow, this is an amazing business. If I could take the commissions that I make from selling real estate and invest those dollars, first, in a single family house, then in some commercial property, then in some larger apartment buildings, I could both have a great way to create an asset base and also have a tremendous impact on the community in which, of the communities of Washington, D.C. So that's how it all started. Took the first few commissions, bought a house, fixed it up, sold it, took the money from selling that, and bought an apartment building actually, and kept that, and then used those commissions over time to build up quite a portfolio of assets that have really had a tremendous impact on the folks that live there in those neighborhoods, but also on myself and my family and the folks who are part of our organization.
Awesome. And now, why do you choose to invest in real estate versus stocks, bonds, or some other type of investments? What do you like about real estate from an investment standpoint?
Yeah, what I like about real estate is it's tangible. You can sort of put your hands on it, you can go see it, and it has a real connection to everything else that's happening around us. It also has tremendous tax advantages. It has tremendous ability to be leveraged as an investment, and it's something that provides a much needed, service and product to our community and to our country and our world.
Yeah, it's one of those basic needs that you just, shelter, like you were saying in our prep interview, is one of the most important things for people. And so I think that you can provide that service and do it in clean, good, affordable housing type of situations. I think that's amazing. Now, I also believe in living a very intentional, purpose-driven life. The question why can also dig deeper into, why are you doing this? What is the purpose behind your real estate investing? And answers could be, creating a legacy for your family. It could be, that you're helping the community overall. But for you personally, what's your why? What's your purpose for owning real estate?
Yeah, the mission of our company is to transform lives and communities through real estate. And the why for me is really that real estate's everywhere. It's a tremendous lever to create positive impact in our neighborhoods. And we're here at the NAR building, and I'm reminded of the beginning of the Realtor Code of Ethics. I'm paraphrasing a little bit here, but it starts out, it says, underneath all is the land. and upon its wise utilization and just distribution depend the hallmarks of our society. This idea that who owns land, how land is divided, who works the land, who has access to owning land, is something that is part of the history of this country. It's part of what people are fighting wars around the world right now about, and we get to play at this very basic concept in society of land ownership. Maslow's hierarchy of needs is food, shelter.
Right.
It's a basic human need.
Yeah.
And we're providing a basic human need to people when we're developing their homes and where they're going to live. Real estate's also one of the largest drivers of wealth in this country. It's oftentimes how families create wealth. It's also how families pass wealth from one generation to the next, or sometimes fail to pass wealth from one generation to the next. And then finally, it's home. It's where you go home to. It's where folks raise their family. It's where they are with their loved ones. It's some expression of their individual tastes and style and how they see themselves. And so if you think about it, we get to play at all these different levels, at a real global level in terms of land and land ownership. At a basic human needs level in terms of shelter, right? In an economic level in terms of wealth and wealth creation. And then at a very personal and individual level in terms of home and what does home actually mean to people. The Realtor Code of Ethics goes on to say that it imposes upon us grave social responsibility and obligations beyond those of ordinary commerce. But this idea that there's a calling in real estate to something larger, to something greater, that we don't always think about real estate. We don't think about real estate as very transactional. But underneath it all are these themes, these important things that call both the folks that work in real estate and the folks that own real estate to a higher and more honorable calling. And there's a great honor in that. And there's also a great responsibility to have that real estate make a positive impact in the world around us.
You had commented earlier just about what different factors have contributed to your success. Do you mind sharing those? And I remember 3 Ps that you were talking about. So what are the things that you believe have contributed to your success in real estate?
Yeah, you asked me this earlier, and I've always said it's the 3 Ps. It's the 3 Ps. And the first one's passion. You gotta love what you do. Partly because passion is contagious. When you're excited about something, it's contagious. It gets other people excited around you, and it just makes everything more fun.
Yeah.
But that passion is also what gives you the staying power. Success is a lot about facing the ups and downs that life or any venture has to put in front of you. And if you don't have that passion, you're not going to be able to have that tenacity that helps you drive through those low points and keep going. The second P is really about persistence. It's that grit, it's that tenacity that keeps you going. I always say that learning is really about failure.
Right.
You have to be able to fail and learn from that failure and move forward. And so it's really about how quickly can you get back up, right? They say it's not about how hard you can hit, it's about how hard you can get hit. It's how quickly can you get down and get back up. And what do you do with the information that you learn from your failure and from also observing other people's failures and other people's successes? How are you able to integrate that information and bounce back for it? So I think a lot of success is about being persistent and staying the course. And then finally, it's about people. People are what sort of make life worth living and make things great. And if you think about it, this is fundamentally about the opportunity to seek out and surround yourself with truly amazing people. So when you put it all together, it's about passion for what you do. It's about persistence that lets you stick through the lows that are part of learning. And then finally, it's about people. It's about finding and surrounding yourself with the best people possible.
Yeah, so when you think about a stool, you've got a platform on a stool and you've got 3 legs that stool stands on. And I love it, the 3 Ps: passion, persistence, and people. That's a great message. What are the things that you believe that you do differently than most other real estate investors? How do you approach the business differently?
Yeah, a lot of what we do is invest ahead of the development curve. We are huge on analytics, so we're spending a lot of time looking at where are the demographic trends, where is future transportation resources going in some of our urban areas, where is job growth happening, and what is the historic context of many of the neighborhoods. A lot of this country's sort of core cities had a lot greater population 40 or 50 years ago. A lot of that population moved out into the suburbs. And what you're seeing over the past 10 years has been increasing move of population back into the center city as millennials and empty nesters sort of move and cluster to be close to that core of the creativity in the city. And a lot of what we've been doing is investing in neighborhoods and investing in real estate assets that once had a lot of potential, that were once beautiful historic assets sometimes, that have sort of fallen on hard times. And we see it as our job to basically restore the strength of that asset. You know, people sometimes think of real estate developers as going in and creating something from nothing. And I always say we don't create something from nothing. All we do is shine a light on a strength that was already there and try and pull it out. So I think a lot of our work is about going into communities and ahead of when most real estate investors would go in there, because it's not quite yet economically as advantageous to be there. And then to knit together the pieces. We say, you know, one of our goals is to enhance the fabric of life in America's urban communities and knit together those resources. And sometimes for us, that's working with tenants, it's working with entrepreneurs who want to help add and create activity and resources and services and goods in that neighborhood, and pulling those together with the real estate assets to make it happen.
So you're all about taking that rough stone and polishing it. You know, not creating something out of nothing necessarily, but saying, what do we have here? How can we integrate into the community? How can we keep some of the rich history of it, but also make it better? And I think as a developer, that's a real concept that I think is important for developers to keep in mind. And we did a podcast a couple of months ago with a guy named Paul Books, who's a developer in Denver, and he's all about socially responsible development that fits within the community, because as you're building up something new, all of a sudden, you know, there's probably a lot of people who are like, okay, what's going to happen? Is this change going to be good for me? Is it going to impact me? Is it going to drive me out of the neighborhood? And so I think it's important to keep that mindset of how can we take this and just polish it up and make it not new, but, you know, better and enhanced.
Yeah, we were saying earlier, we got to always learn that we operate in context, and the real estate exists within context. It exists within the context of history, the context of a community, and the context of that physical asset.
Yeah.
What it's been before.
So now, I love books. I believe that leaders are readers, and the folks that read and intentionally educate themselves. And this isn't just talking about what you learned in school, but taking the time to read good nonfiction books that help you learn, I think is very important, and it's a common trait between people who are highly successful. What book are you reading right now?
Yeah, so actually right now I'm reading The Advantage by Patrick Lencioni. And it's it's been great for me and timely. You know, sometimes like you're reading something that just hits you. You know, so I was when the student's ready, the teacher appears.
Right.
You know, I've been reading this book, and The Advantage is really the flip side of some of the other books that he's written: 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, Death by Meetings, and it really looks at how organizations can become truly competitive through focusing on organizational health. And so it really looks at the way in which organizational health and organizational clarity about what you're doing really can drive an organization's success. And our organization is now moving, and my leadership journey is very much moving from where I've been the leader and running a team to really being my job to build the leadership team and support those leaders who are now the leadership energy that drives the organization. And one of the things that always is a tremendous, sort of perspective setting, but also very humbling and sometimes scary, is that organizations really reflect both the great things and the less so great things of their leaders and their leadership team. And so as you work to really fix those small things in yourself and fix those small things in a team, in a tight team, we always say that before you have a powerful big group, you gotta have a powerful small group. If we're gonna have a powerful small group, you've got to sort of focus on fixing yourself. And so that's been a great message for us and for our team right now at this time as we go through that transition.
Finally, what advice would you give to an aspiring investor? Someone that's looking at doing this for the first time, they've seen Bo and they say, I know you're wildly successful. How would you give them advice on making their first real estate investment?
Yeah, I always say, whenever I think about doing something new that I don't know a lot about, I always start by saying, like, what kind of team do I need? What kind of people do I need to learn from? So I think I would start out by trying to find a great team. And maybe just at least the first core pieces of that, which I think, if you're going to be buying an apartment building or a piece of commercial real estate, that really starts with a great real estate broker, a lender, if you're going to be financing the property, and potentially an attorney to help you with that. And so that becomes your team that allows you to really speed up your learning curve because they're going to have the experience and the reps that maybe you don't have. I think the second thing you want to do is you really want to understand. We talked a little bit earlier about context. You want to do some research, you want to do some analysis, You're never going to know everything there is to know. There's always going to be some unknowns in every real estate transaction, but you want to know what the key things to look for are, and what's happening around the property that you're buying, what's happening rents and other buildings around there, and what the future of that specific asset is. So I'd say it's about getting the team, doing some research, and then finally it's about being ready for a rainy day. I say the typical mistake that every entrepreneur makes, whether they're someone's going to invest in apartment buildings or they're someone starting a new business, is that they lay out a plan, and usually their plan's not that off, but they assume that everything's going to go right.
Right.
And the reality of life is nothing ever goes 100% according to plan.
Yeah.
And so you got to be ready for the rainy day.
Yeah.
You got to have the course correction, and you got to have the staying power to make it through that lost tenant or that broken pipe or the roof leak or whatever the things are that come up in owning real estate. If you can sort of make it through that, you can be very successful in real estate. Real estate's a phenomenal investment because real estate's something that over time, basically all ills are cured.
Yeah.
Time heals all in real estate. And so it's really about knowing whether or not you can last the course and you can stay the course. And real estate becomes a tremendous vehicle for your success and for your future.
That's awesome. And the thing that I'm hearing there as you're talking about being prepared for the rainy day is, having a great retained earnings account. When you are getting good rent and you're getting increases in your rent roll, stocking some of that money aside, making sure that you're creating sinking funds for your major capital expenditures like your roof and your boiler, and just making sure that you're not spending all the profit that you have right away. And that's good sound advice for any business, whether it's real estate or just a small business that you're operating. We always love to share a quote on the Kyle Malnati Show, and Bo picked a great John Wooden quote. The late great basketball coach for UCLA, most NCAA championships of any college coach, and it's the little details that are vital. Little things make the big things happen. And again, that's by John Wooden, UCLA's basketball coach. And why did you pick that quote?
Yeah, I picked it because it says little things make the big things happen. And we've got a saying in our organization, think big, act small. Think big, act small. They say that people usually grossly overestimate what they can accomplish in a short period of time, in an hour, in a day. We experience this all the time in our lives. But we vastly underestimate what we can achieve over a longer period of time. And so we always say we want to think big. You want to start with a big vision. You want to aim high. You want to have a purpose. You want to have a mission that's large. But then you got to be willing to take small action, because it's the accumulation of those small actions that ultimately make that big vision possible. And I think that sometimes when folks are looking out and they see either they're thinking about something they really want to do to be a success, or they're talking to other people who have been successful in something they want to be successful in, they think just about the end point, and they get frustrated or focused on that. And success in life usually happens gradually and then suddenly. There's some accumulation of little things that you need to do every day, and our ability to do the small thing while keeping the big thing in our minds, in our hearts, and in our vision is ultimately what over time creates great things.
Bo, this has been such a special opportunity to sit down with you. I thank you for your time and just for sharing your wisdom. You're doing amazing things in the DC area, and I think it's just very cool for us to take this platform, kind of share a more national message than we normally do on our show. And it's great to sit down with a developer that's making things happen. And it's a pleasure just to know you and call you a friend.
Well, thanks for having me. It's been great. It's great to spend this time with you.
Thanks to everybody for watching. As you've been watching here with Bo Menkiti, I'm Kyle Malnati, and we appreciate you watching the Kyle Malnati Show. As I love to say, I'll see you around the neighborhood.